Welcome back to Fast Politics, Congressman.
What's going on, Molly? How you doing?
Good. What's happening with the Epstein files? Let's talk about that first. Let's start with that.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Is
The
that been in the news?
No, it has not been in the news. But if it were to have been in the news, why can't you just get over Epstein?
Because I'm weak in listening to the Democrats, right? That's why. I mean, first of all, let's go to the beginning, right?
Yes.
People forget when he was running against Hillary, President Trump was the one who brought up Epstein.
Yeah.
He was when he was running against the other Republicans in the primary, he was saying, well, it's gonna be very bad for Bill Clinton because he went to the island. Just ask Prince Andrew, right? And that's kind of where it all started. And from that day on, right, he's been talking about Epstein, and his whole movement's been talking about the deep state, how there's a list, and how they're going to take it to high society, and that it's all these Democrats, including the Clintons, on this list, right? And they're going to expose it, and they're going to go after the deep state and take it down. Now, there's other people who think like, oh, the CIA's involved or foreign countries involved, right? And you got Dan Bongino and Kash Patel who made made their career online with this stuff. They wind
government
up
gangsters.
Yeah.
Government gangsters.
They wind up in the administration, in the Department of Government to go after this. Pam Bondi, who was the Attorney General of Florida, who dealt with Epstein there, becomes the Attorney General here. She's dealing with Epstein. What does she do? She releases binders with nothing in them. Beautiful, nice white binders. I have one for you if you'd like one.
Phase one. Phase one. That was phase one. What was going to be phase two?
Well, this is like the Avengers movies, multiple phases. Okay, so she does this binder. There's nothing in them. Complete embarrassment. You would think at that point maybe pivot, maybe figure out how to land it. Nope. She comes on Fox and she says the list is on my desk, right? Yeah. As if there was a list. And it was on her desk. And now then they do a memo and she says, guess what? No list and no desk. I don't even have a desk.
So let's just pause for a minute in the interest of just dissecting the stupid here. What do we think? We think she was talking about the phone book? Like there has been a phone book.
At this point, who the fuck knows?
Right.
Like I have no idea. Okay.
Yeah. Member of Congress here, man. Member of our government. Yes.
Well,
continue.
most members of Congress probably.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, we have no idea what's going on. This has been a 180 that is not just confused Democrats. MAGA themselves
have no idea.
Confused and bewildered. I'm watching Benny Johnson, Mike Flynn, the guy from Veritas, O'Keefe.
Yeah.
Like they don't even know what to do here. They're still siding on. They're still opposing the president, wanting to release because they feel like this pedophile who hurt children had people from high society and that there are names. Okay?
There are a lot of reasons to want to release this.
Now, Trump says that this is all the Democrats' fault. We're the one who came up with this. We're the one. I mean, talk about projection. I mean, the good Lord. So now he's trying to get people to believe, like, for the last several years, this hoax that they've been talking about, this conspiracy theory that they talked about that they believe in, is either true or it's a hoax that Democrats created.
James Comey.
Biden in the basement, clearly. Barack Obama, we're still blaming him for stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And James Comey.
It is. And Comey. It is absolutely wild. But this is really the first instance we're seeing where the MAGA base ain't buying it. They're not buying it. Right. And so you have to ask yourself a question. Were they lying then or are they lying now? Right. Is there no there and it was all a lie? Or is it so bad?
Right.
Is it so bad that it would take down the president and other people in the government?
On Earth One, where we, I guess, live. If the federal government, in a normal federal government, the reason why they wouldn't release a list of anything, and we don't even know if there is a list, clearly we know there's a phone book because we've seen reporting of people calling the numbers in the phone book. So we do know there's a phone book. But if there was something like that, the reason why you can't release something like that, if you're not going to press charges, is because you are then liable for, ruining these people's lives and they can sue you, right?
Yeah, 100%. But also, we got Ghislaine Maxwell in prison.
Yeah.
Right? She's in jail. The Department of Justice is asking the Supreme Court to deny her appeal. there are Republicans who want to bring her to Capitol Hill so she can testify. The administration opposes that. Why?
And let's get back for a second, because yesterday you guys in the House explained to us what happened yesterday and why Republicans blocked it and who the Republicans were who blocked it.
Sure. So there was a rule vote in the Rules Committee with an amendment. Only one Republican voted for that, Ralph Norman. Okay.
Right.
Which would have forced the release of the Epstein files. The other Republicans on the Rules Committee voted against it. Then there was a previous question where this language was tied in. Okay. And Republicans voted against it. In fairness to Republicans, they would never have allowed us to win the previous question anyways. These are like rule fights anyways.
Right.
But yeah, it was the first time to put them on the board. Now you have a
Right.
discharge petition with Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Democrats. What a weird soup of
But
shit
that
going
you have
on.
the numbers for that to get to pass, right? Because
We do.
Thomas
We do.
Massey and MTJ.
We do. In fact, the rumors are they're going to send us home before we actually sign the petition.
Johnson just said yesterday, release it.
Yeah, listen, like Mike Johnson, he's a nice guy. He's a pleasant guy to have a conversation with. He's not in charge of the House, Molly. Okay? He can say whatever he wants. But this is Trump's house. Okay? And so at the end of the day, I don't care what Johnson says to Manu, right? I care what the president is saying, and that's what you have to listen to. And the president's telling us, move on. Move on. The guy's dead. Forget about it. There's no there. It was a hoax. It was Russiagate. It was, the Steele dossier. Good God, that's never going to go away. Telling people, like, if you still believe in the Epstein thing, I don't want your support. You're weak. He's willing to burn his own base over Epstein. And so, look, I was never like a big believer in this whole thing. Obviously, Epstein was a terrible person. May he rot in hell.
Right.
And we obviously have to make sure his victims are protected, of course.
Right.
But the over-the-top protection by the president that's what is intriguing
It's a bit strange.
people.
Yeah.
That is what is intriguing people.
And there is also Alex Acosta giving him this sweetheart deal the first time, and then
Correct.
Acosta goes into the Trump admin.
That's right.
So there is definitely a lot of smoke here.
Oh, there's definitely a lot of smoke. And we know that Trump knew him and had a relationship with him, and Trump's probably all over a bunch of stuff. Right? We know that's been well reported. They knew each other for a long period of time. What we don't know is who went to the island. That's what who was there. That's the list, right? But even if it's not a one sheet of paper list, right? Who are the people who went to the island? And that's what people want to know. And that is what, at this point, it appears the president is trying to protect, that list of names. But why don't we let her come testify? Let her come testify to Congress. Let's see what she has to say.
But there are also thousands of videos and documents, and I mean, tons of stuff.
Molly, if it wasn't destroyed, hold on a second. There were, at some point, we were told, videos.
The FBI sent it to the DOJ, didn't they?
So she said. Okay. If you look at the polling, the American people don't believe a word that's coming out of DOJ on this. So, look, as Donald Rumsfeld used to say, there are unknown unknowns, right? May he rest in peace.
I don't want to say you're my favorite member of Congress, because there are members of Congress that I am actually very friendly with. But right now you are my favorite member of Congress.
It was the Donald Rumsfeld quote that got you.
Yeah.
Love that. Oh, love that.
Correct.
You ever see the letter he sent to the IRS about his taxes, by the way?
No.
Oh, go Google it when we're done. He sent a letter Donald Rumsfeld one year sent a letter to the IRS. And the letter, the gist of it was something like, you tell me that I owe X amount of dollars this year. I'm going to send you that amount of money, but I actually think you're wrong. I owe you more. You have no idea.
Amazing.
You have no idea how much I owe you. I really have no idea how much I owe you. But I'm going to send you what you're telling me. It's a very funny letter.
It is about to be hurricane season in Florida. You guys, climate change. I live in New York. We just had flooded subways, very scary. Lots of flooding. We've seen a lot of flooding already. Your governor, Ron DeSantis, may have spent quite a lot of, there's reporting from Talking Points memo that he may have spent quite a lot of FEMA money on Alligator, Alcatraz, not FEMA money, but state money for hurricanes. Now we have this hurricane season coming. Trump is trying to dissolve FEMA. Talk us through this incredibly bad situation that's about to hit Florida.
Sure. So let me go through the whole thing. So on Alligator Alcatraz, there's a grant that's within Homeland, about $600 million that's in account that FEMA is going to process for reimbursement. So the governor is spending state money while he will then wait for a FEMA reimbursement. Who knows how long that'll take?
Or if it'll come at all, right?
Correct,
Because
FEMA is reimbursing at the
in the
slowest rate.
crosshairs. Yeah.
Slowest rate possible. That being said, the state of Florida has the money. We're not Alabama or Mississippi or Louisiana.
Right.
They do have the money. So from a fiscal issue, right, even though they have spent way too much money building Alligator Alcatraz, right, it will not impact the state's ability to respond in a hurricane. But let's talk about...
do you think, but also, is this legal to move around these funds like this?
Well, look, I don't know. The fund that it's rumored that Homeland is using was actually a fund that they froze that was being used to reimburse New York for the immigration issues there, that they then criticized and fired someone at FEMA for reimbursing New York, but now they're taking the money and reimbursing Florida. Is it legal? It appears to be a legal grant, right? And having FEMA process it is also legal, although cumbersome. And so, from a federal government grant perspective, it appears to be legal. What Florida's doing with Alligator Alcatraz is a whole different story. But I want to focus on FEMA because the situation can't be more dire, Molly. Okay. Yeah. I believe FEMA is in worse shape than any other agency in all of the federal government right now. It started with talk about reform, FEMA reform. And the industry has known we've needed FEMA reform for years. Democratic, FEMA administrators, Republican FEMA administrators, the industry, everyone knew FEMA needed reform. One of the reforms is to get FEMA out of Homeland, to get it out of this big bureaucratic mess. Homeland has been disabusing FEMA for years, making FEMA run all of the grants of the other 22 agencies there, and bogging FEMA down in bureaucratic red tape rather than getting them to focus on response. In fact, I have that bill for the last 3 years to get FEMA out of the Homeland Security Department. What does Kristi Noem do? She doesn't do reform. She does deletion.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
She's literally dissolving this thing from within. 20% of the workforce is gone. They're holding $10 billion worth of previously declared presidential disaster aid, $4 billion for just Florida. They got rid of BRIC, which was a program that helped counties and cities and states build resiliency. There's a federal grant that helps states build capacity, emergency management capacity, right? They're holding that grant money back. So they're saying, build your capacity, but we're not going to send you the money to do that we usually send you. They forced people to take buyouts. Some of the most senior people with the most amount of experience took those buyouts. You got regional offices that are 20-30% empty, right?
And you have the phone number problem, right, with Texas, where they couldn't
re-sign the contract.
Yeah,
they didn't re-sign the contract
with the call center.
With the call centers, they're not putting people in the field to go door to door, which is what they usually do. So in the year of Doge, efficiency. They've actually made FEMA slower and less efficient, okay? We got an administrator with no FEMA experience at all, this guy, David Richardson. I can't even remember a time ever in the history of FEMA where the FEMA administrator didn't go to a disaster area that the president and the Homeland Secretary went to. David Richardson wasn't there. He didn't come for several days later. Why? He knows nothing and he couldn't add anything to the equation. But it's unimaginable. And then what you have in Texas, Kristi Noem didn't activate the Swiftwater rescue crews for 3 days. Yeah. FEMA would usually just start pushing those crews. They would get them moving, get them on the road, reposition them. So when they were needed and ready to go, it would only take an hour or two to get them in the water. Yeah. Okay. This is unconscionable. I don't care what they say. This is the fastest response in the history of responses.
It's bullshit.
Okay. Yeah. This is the slowest response since Katrina.
Slowest response since Katrina is pretty damning. There's also a problem with the weather balloons, right?
Well, yeah, they're not doing the weather balloons anymore because they defunded.
So it would be your first line of defense against a hurricane, right?
Well, making sure we have accurate information to know the intensity of the hurricane, the track of the hurricane. There are dramatic concerns, right, that information is not going to be reliable. you get a change in the track. And we've talked about this. I mean, look, I'm the former director of emergency management from the state of Florida, right, for a Republican governor, which shows you that I don't look at this in a partisan way when it comes to
Right.
emergency management. This is the time to help Americans in their time of need. Hurricanes don't care, how you voted. But there's a real sense that, hurricanes could shift, and they do it, 50 miles this way, 60 miles that way. That changes evacuations, that changed flood models. We may not have the same data, reliable data that we've had in the past.
Yeah. So it seems like this is spiraling towards a disaster.
Look, my hope now, obviously, is that we have a light hurricane season and we have
Right.
time to rebuild FEMA, because even though that we have great people there, first responders, fantastic people who care about this, FEMA is not ready.
Right.
Okay. And states that rely on FEMA to assist them, that don't have big emergency management departments like California or Texas or Florida, they're not ready to do this without a FEMA. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we should be concerned. We should be worried that if we get a big disaster into a state that needs FEMA help, that this situation will be a disaster within a disaster.
Yeah. It seems like the weather stuff, the FEMA stuff, but it doesn't seem like there has been an event like that. You would think what happened in Texas, where obviously had they had a better, more organized warning, less people would have died, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
So similar to like the shooting at my high school, right?
right,
Martin Stillman Douglas, where a bunch of kids were killed and teachers. When an event like that happens, you have multiple levels of failure. And
right,
in this instance in Texas, the reason you do an investigation, you do an after action review, is to learn what worked, what didn't work, to make those changes, right? There are gaps in time between
right,
that last warning, please go, you're going to die, versus when they started evacuation.
right,
We need to know what worked and didn't work. We need to know where the gaps were, right?
right,
I think you're going to find that there were gaps at the local level. There's gaps with
right,
the warning. We might find
right,
gaps with FEMA's response, right? It's not going to be
right,
one silver
right,
bullet. How did
right.
this happen? It's going to be
A lot
multiple.
goes wrong to
A
have
lot
kids
goes
drown
wrong.
in their
Yeah. And
cabins.
some of
Yeah.
it may be as simple, Molly, as this was in the middle of the night and they couldn't reach
Right.
people in the city and the county, and they couldn't reach the first responders,
Right.
right? They weren't ready to go. And that's why from 4 a.m. in the morning till 7 a.m., they didn't start evacuation till 7 a.m., right? It may have just been, this is more a rural area, right? There could be some just regular stuff that got in the way. I was on a city commission, a county commission. They're not just like sitting around waiting to go. Was it a volunteer fire department, right? Were those folks worried about their families? I mean, there's a lot of different moving pieces. That's why you do an after action review.
Are they
But
not doing it?
I don't know, but I've called for investigation. I've called for hearings. That's what I want to do in both Homeland and Transportation, which has oversight of FEMA, right? For me, this isn't about gotcha. It's about we
Right.
did something different in FEMA, and what was the repercussions of that, right? Did it impact it? Did it not impact it? We don't know. Okay. What I
Right.
can tell you is it didn't help, Molly. Clearly wasn't a positive.
Yes. Trump still seems like he's pretty interested in getting rid of FEMA.
No, they're pivoting. No.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they're
Good.
pivoting. So I actually believe there's a disconnect between the West Wing and Kristi Noem on this. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think it was all fun and games. Like, you're going to get rid of it. And she's like, yep, Mr. President, we're going to get rid of it. We're getting rid of it. Now they're pivoting. No, we're going to rebrand it. We're going to reform it. We're getting rid of it as you previously knew it. Like, the artist
Right.
formerly known as Prince.
So it's going to be
Okay.
FEMA 2.0. It's going
Oh,
to
actually, there's
be
a great
the
rumor going around.
symbol.
No, you're going to love this. There's a rumor going on. You know what some people are saying it's going to be called?
What?
The National Office of Emergency Management. You know what the acronym is?
NATO?
NOME.
Gnome. Oh, gnome.
Yeah.
Gnome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That's
back to Earth
amazing.
1.
Yeah. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, I can't believe how stupid everything is, like, at all points in this administration.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I did have a thought, like maybe the swift water rescue crews that we were waiting for, maybe they were on Pam Bondi's desk.
Jared,
Yes.
will you come back?
Of course. I'll always come back.
Okay, good.